Hey everyone. So today I'm going to talk about my experience as a budding YouTuber. I started dabbling in YouTube videos. I had a couple channels over the course of the last year. And then in the last, I would say, month and a half, I actually started a full-blown channel. And in this process, in the last year or so, I've probably watched like 1,000 videos on growing a YouTube channel. The advice on how to be a good YouTuber, how to do good videos, how to get a big following and everything. So I've watched at least 1,000. And also, just having done this, I've just gained certain impressions, observations that I kind of want to share. As far as what I've learned by listening to the experts, it's interesting. I feel like most of it's consistent, to the extreme, to the point where it's like, how many times can different people say the exact same thing? It's like a lot of it's just super repetitive. And some of it's contradictory, some of it's like, but even when people are contradicting another YouTube expert, they say it with such conviction. It's like, you don't know who to believe on sometimes. And by the way, as I said, I started a channel about a month ago, but my channel is not devoted to how to be a good YouTuber. So this video on my impressions on the good advice, bad advice of the YouTube experts. This is a one-off. This is not going to be a long line of giving YouTube advice. So anyway, I guess the first thing I would say is, in terms of what I would say overall about my impressions about you doing YouTube videos is, it's really good for you. It's really helpful. Like, you develop amazing skills that translate into every aspect of your life, particularly your day job. And I don't care what your job is. I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a police officer, you're working at Arby's. The skills you learn talking to a camera, organizing your thoughts, presenting, articulating, trying to get your point across in the clearest, most concise way possible, and sometimes in real time, to a camera where it's going to be published on this platform that has a gazillion followers, is just really a good practice. It just makes you better at speaking and expressing your point of view. And that's important in relationships and every aspect of your life. Now, I've been an attorney for decades, and I've had to talk in front of judges in federal court, state court. I had to give presentation in front of large auditoriums full of people. I've had to talk to boards of directors. I've done all that, but doing YouTube videos takes it to another level. Having to talk to a camera where it's recorded, it's permanent, especially when you post it. It's challenging in a way that even talking to a circuit court, federal judge isn't. So, if you've got a channel, it's really good for you. And there's another reason why it's really helpful, and that is, it forces you to take a cold, hard look at yourself. Like, actually watch yourself, listen to yourself. And if you're like most people, certainly like me, you say like, wow, I thought I looked a little better than that. Gee, I need to lose a few pounds. So, you do get sort of hypercritical seeing yourself. But there's certain things that are really good about that. Like when I watch myself, overall, I'm happy with my videos generally. Sometimes I cringe, and sometimes I say to myself, like, hey, I got to work on that. Like, I'm coming across a little narcissistic. Like everything I do and say is so interesting. Like, if I do that in my personal life, I need to pull back on that a little bit. So it's good in that it makes you just watch yourself and see where you can improve. And certainly in the way you speak. I mean, we all do this. For me, it's the it's like, so I'm working on those, and I guess, just when you see yourself or hear yourself doing that, it just brings the point home, like, this is something I truly have to work on. So point number one is, if you're doing YouTube, even if it doesn't lead to anything, it is really good for you. I guess the best piece of advice to new YouTubers that I found, and this is this is said repeatedly. It's just, don't tell anybody in your personal life about your channel. Because, when you start out, you're awful. You and everybody's awful. You just can't be good at this the first few times you do it. And if nobody knows about it, you have this incredible safety net. You can practice, make mistakes, sound stupid, like you don't know what you're talking about. And in the beginning, nobody watches you anyway. It's kind of like that idea, like, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears about it, did it really fall? You don't have to feel embarrassed because, like, nobody's seeing it. And then over time, when you start to get at least a few viewers, like I'm at a point now, like I said, my channel's been up for like a month. I'm getting more views. But, you get a little better and even then, when you get more views, it's not like your wife or your, your besties or the people you went to high school with or the people you work with. That's the biggie, like you don't have to worry about that. So that I would say is the best piece of advice. This isn't like an evaluation of advice, but this is just a general observation that I've had, which again, because I watch so many YouTube videos, I see some of these like really successful YouTubers talking about YouTubing. They have like millions of followers, and there's more than one. There's a lot of them out there, like with millions of followers, talking about how to grow a channel. And even the ones that are not millions, there's folks with like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, or 60,000 or 70,000 subscribers, all devoted to, how do you grow a channel? How do you make good videos? How do you make videos that reach people? And what I think about that is, like, if there's millions and millions of people, tens of millions of people watching these videos, it means there's a heck of a lot of people that are interested in getting on YouTube and talking to the public. And I think that's a good thing. It's like, people complain about social media, but one good positive thing is it's so democratic. It's like everybody gets a voice. And you don't just get a voice, but you get a voice on platforms that are that have subscribers, followers, whatever, hundreds of millions of people. And that the fact that folks want to like be heard, they want to share their experiences, they want to share their stories, they want to entertain, they want to share their knowledge. I think that's just a wonderful thing. So again, that's a real positive thing about the whole YouTube craze. If I had to say the one piece of bad advice, I guess that's not a right way to say it. It's not bad advice. I think it's good advice that needs to be said differently. And that is, and you'll hear just about every YouTube guru say this, is just keep posting. When you're starting out, just keep posting, just keep pumping out the content. And the reason why I don't like the way that's worded, I don't think that's good advice kind of in and of itself, is that, in the beginning, you got to kind of find your way. Like I think that the concept of just keep posting means you're not going to be super thoughtful about the direction you're going in. Just keep throwing out the content. And I think in the beginning, with every video you make, you got to do a lot of self-reflection and say, like, okay, well, and not so much like they'll say, like, well, every video get a little better and you got to tweak it. In the beginning, I don't think that's the focus. You don't need tweaking. You need like, major analysis of like, how did I feel when I did this video? When I watch this video, is this generally the area I even want to be talking about? It's like, for me in the beginning, it was kind of like, I would watch a video and I would just say, like, yeah, like, I don't want to be like the expert in that area, so I'm going to leave that like off the table for me. Or other times I thought, I'd have this gut, like, that video, and I would always publish them because I just, like, I'm not going to fall in the trap of just like, oh, that was terrible. No, I published all the videos, but there were times when I just said, like, boy, that video was not good. It was just boring, like, and why was it boring? Well, because it was a story that, maybe my kids would find kind of funny or interesting because it's about me, but somebody that doesn't know me, that story just wasn't that good. Didn't have a good message, and it wasn't that funny. And so I think that this idea that, just keep getting the content out there, I think I would say it a different way, which is instead of saying just keep posting, I would say don't quit. Hang in there. I mean, just, keep doing it. But, have a lot of reflection. Now, I think somebody who, gives the advice of just keep posting would say, well, yeah, but, when I say just keep posting, I mean, in the beginning, just practice talking to the camera. It doesn't matter how good or bad it is. You just get better just talking to the camera. So just keep doing it. And then, after maybe a few months, then you could really do the self-evaluation and figure out what direction you want to go in. But the main point is just keep talking to the camera, because you're going to get better. And that's perfectly valid. So again, I would say the advice is don't quit. Just hang in there. But, with every video, particularly in the beginning, it's like, that thing where, like a rocket ship that's on the launch pad. If it's pointed if the nose of the rocket ship is pointed just 1 inch in the wrong direction, it's going to miss the moon by hundreds of thousands of miles. So as far as what direction you want to point your rocket ship in, I would say right from the beginning, be thinking about that. What direction do I want to go in? What are the major flaws in terms of my presentation am I making? And I think that you need to do that right at the outset. And the other piece of advice, which I just think it's interesting. I think it's of course it's good advice, which is, you need a niche. You know what I mean? The algorithm, the dreaded algorithm, which, if you're in your first month like me, you feel like it's evil. It pushes your video and you get in the first 2 hours, you're getting all this traction, then all of a sudden it just stops. And it's like, it can't be because, all of a sudden, people stopped liking my video after 2 hours. It's got to be the algorithm. But anyway, the algorithm definitely is going to be your friend if you have a more narrow focus, because it's going to know who your target audience is going to be. So, if your goal in YouTube is to have it, become, super famous, or, have it be your business, make a ton of money on YouTube, you're definitely going to need a pretty narrow niche. You can't be all over the place. But if your goal is, we all want 1 million followers, right? We would all love to be, famous, make tons of money and everything else. But if your primary goal is, to share your thoughts, to be heard, entertain, and if you really don't have a specific, very narrow area that you want to talk about, in my view, that's okay. My channel is pretty broad, and I feel like if I get there, it's just going to take longer without a super narrow focus to my channel. It's going to take longer, but when I get there, I'm going to enjoy it more, because I'm going to continue to talk about a lot of things, whatever happens to interest me in that particular day. And I'll know that my followers just click with me. They like me, they relate to how I view the world. And so that's why they're watching. Not because, I have this great advice on, financial advice, or, career advice, or interviewing, job interviews, or whatever, or developing a good YouTube video. Because quite frankly, if somebody said to me, I have a crystal ball, and if you become a YouTuber on YouTuber, someday I can tell you, you're going to have 2 million subscribers and you're going to make a lot of money doing it. I would say I still wouldn't want to do it, because that would be so boring to me. Do one topic, talk about it year after year, dozens and hundreds and thousands of videos on the same topic, just recycling the same material. To me, I can't even imagine. And where do you go from there? So anyway, for me, yes, I'm going to, so my channel is, kind of like I said, it's a broad range of topics, but it's from a Christian perspective. It's from the perspective of somebody who believes in God, believes that we have a purpose here on earth, which is, to do God's work, and to become better versions of ourselves, to grow, mature, become more godlike. And how do you do that? Well, you do that by sort of following Jesus's message of, love God, love one another, serve one another in, humility, kindness, have a forgiving heart, be disciplined, and, have a strong connection to our Creator. And how does that apply in every aspect of our life, in our relationships, and how we conduct ourselves at work? So, can you have a more broad, subject for your YouTube channel than that. Probably not. But, you know, for me, that's what I'm doing. And we'll see how it goes. So anyway, that's it for today. I'd love for you to subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you next time.